Andrew Tate in Rimworld. His stats are on screen now, along with the ideology. Now you may be thinking, why have I set him as a dancer? This is why. And now it's time to pick a base spot, get some food, and chop some wood to make the base. Andrew Tate's starting out with a simple base, blocking off a little area in the mountain and setting up a place to sleep, along with a little house inside that mountain. Time to set up a butchering spot, crafting spot, and fire to cook food that we're eventually going to hunt. Andrew Tate takes a moment to rest and think about how he's going to become the richest colonist in Rimworld.
What colour's your brigade?
As Andrew Tate is currently all alone, it's time to set up some security outside the base to protect his little mountain cove. The base has now been blocked off, the bed has been built, time to chop some wood and then sleep. A small stockpile set up, but nothing is going to be put in the stockpile yet because we've got fuck all. More berries are picked, and we stare into the flames of the fire. I now have enough wood collected to make my first weapon, a bow. And we're going to use that bow to hunt some actual real food and not none of this vegan shit. Now, as we know, Andrew Tate is best with his hand-to-hand combat, so picking up this bow, he did struggle a bit. And eventually the deer just said, fuck this, and ran into the void. So, it's back to vegan berries. He finishes up setting up his little security. And then continues to hunt for some more food. Now this time he was a lot better with his shots and managed to wound the animal and just left it to die while he slept. In the morning he went out and collected the deer, butchered it, cooked it for a proper meal, one small step closer to not being a brokey. Some visitors strolled past looking to trade, but as I said a second ago, we're a brokey and they didn't want to buy anything from us. Andrew then remembered that you can actually grow food in the ground, so he got to planting some rice. Things were looking good. Andrew had a small base set up, some food, a fire and a bed. What could possibly go wrong? Oh no, a raid from the Romanian police. Not again. Luckily, Rabba from the Romanian police only pulls up with a bow and is no match for the security and traps that Andrew had laid out previously. What a plonker. Andrew liked the look of the fella's jacket, so he stripped him naked and then buried the body. Next job was to build a table and chairs, and then a group of travellers turned up. Not very interesting people, they're just having a nose. Andrew then got to mining some steel, which took a million years, and then cleared the area in the next little cove to get a wind turbine down to start getting some power. The rice had grown, so we had some more food to keep us going, and then the Sigma males came to visit. Stay the fuck away from my rice. A transport pod landed, containing an injured woman called Rust, but Rust had a psychite dependency, and the only thing we're sniffing is money, and the only thing we're smoking is cigars, so we left her to die. While Andrew continued mining, his Uber Eats order turned up. And then things got a bit hot. Luckily Andrew's got a bald head, so he can dissipate heat pretty well, but he decided to build a passive cooler just to make sure he didn't get too hot. Two manhunter squirrels wanted to have it out, but again they were no match for the traps that Andrew had set up. I guess the third squirrel changed his mind and self-tamed, but more important things, another transport pod crash containing Mark. Now Mark was a pretty smart geezer and looked like he would do great in the Mr. Producer's mansion. So Andrew set up a quick room for Mark to stay in and made his way over to patch his wounds and bring him to safety. The next couple of days were spent gathering resources and looking after Mark until we felt much better and decided to leave. But we all know that's not happening. So Andrew Tate gave him a right hook and put him right back in his bed. A proper bed was made for Mark, and our mate the squirrel from earlier was turned into dinner. Andrew got to working on the wind turbine and the cooler to keep food fresh. A quest popped up and another transport pod landed. The quest was about a nearby caravan being hunted by 3 groups of wasters from the Brokies. Andrew had his eyes on the legendary great bow, because if he was going to have a bow, he would need the best one he could get. He held off accepting this quest yet, as he wanted to make sure his area was safe and secure and possibly get Mark on board to help fight. The transport pod contained a furry from the furry SJW clan, and although the fur could be used to make a wig for Andrew's bald head, the fur would also get all over Andrew's mansion, so the furry was left to bleed out. Andrew went back to hunting with some more success this time, as food was needed for both him and Mark. Some more visitors arrived looking to trade, which was perfect timing because the furry SJWs were obviously not happy about Andrew Tate leaving one of their people to die, so they tried to raid me. And like a bloke wearing a Rolex in London, he got swarmed and stabbed to death. Andrew thanked the visitors and went back to hunting for some more food, until another Uber Eats order landed on his doorstep. A war merchant arrived, as seeing as the last raid went so well with the other visitors, he accepted the quest for the legendary great bow. Anton from the Brokies sniffed a line of yayo and went in for the attack, but he's a bit stupid because no matter how much yayo you sniff, you're not going to be able to beat 13 war merchants. Another geezer from the Brokies thought that they could step to the top G, but again he was met with 13 war merchants who'd done him in. Andrew then collected all the drugs off the ground, because again the only thing he's smoking is cigars, and sold them to the war merchants. The legendary great bow was then delivered straight to Andrew's doorstep, and he claimed it as his own. Mark was then recruited, and he immediately thought it'd be a good idea to name the faction and the settlement. So the faction is now Hussey's University, and the settlement is Mr. Producer's mansion.
Mr. Producer!
Now with Mark's help, Andrew thought it'd be a good idea to extend the base. Another quest popped up to have someone join us at Mr. Producer's mansion, but it would piss off the Empire, so Andrew gave it a miss. The Empire then must have heard that we didn't accept that quest and gave us another one. But again, we get enough rainy thunderstorms in the UK, and Andrew didn't want to be reminded of Luton, so we gave it a miss. Because Mark was a smart lad, we set up the research bench inside of his room, and then Master Splinter decided to join us. Unfortunately for him, Mark fancied Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle soup. With the research table built, it was time to research batteries, so Mark got straight on that, and Andrew carried on with extending the base. The Sigma males decided to have a nose again. Mark was then converted from his old ideology and joined Hustlers University, which was great because he used to be a vegan and now he can eat meat.
I had a girlfriend once. She was a vegan. I didn't know she was a vegan. Unfortunately, I found out. 2 weeks later, she's eating meat. I converted her. I fixed her.
And Andrew thought it'd be a better idea to get a stove built instead of cooking on a fire, so he did exactly that. Andrew then realised that the air conditioner is pointing from one room to another, and he didn't want to be called a dickhead by Mark, so he got to building a separate place to then have a fridge. Now that there's 2 people in Mr. Producer's mansion, the most important thing was then set up to be built, a chess table. Another trade merchant arrived, but there was nothing worth buying and we had nothing to sell. Another quest from the Empire popped up, and it was to offer either Andrew or Mark to pop over there and serve for 10 days, which neither of them fancied, so the quest was declined. The new fridge was now set up, and batteries were now researched. Now, Andrew and Mark really need to start making some money, because how the hell is Andrew going to become a top G if he's still a brokey? So we started research of drug production. The first battery was built, and another quest popped up on the radar. It was going to walkabout to try and get a reinforced barrel, and there may be an unknown threat. Andrew said fuck that, and Mark and Andrew decided to continue working on the base. Now the battery was built, it was time to get some lights popped in all the room. The next couple of days were quiet, just a few additions to the base until the Romanian police tried their luck again. And they still had not learnt from the last raid. A traveller named BB came past looking for 5 herbal medicine, and checking her stats, she was super smart, so Andrew decided she'd be a great slave to start doing all the research. Side note, I've literally just got the ideology DLC, didn't realise that slaves couldn't research, so she'll be doing something else. Andrew could use her for a webcam business, but she's 66 years old, and I don't think there's much of a market for that in Rimworld. So, as Andrew was setting up a little room for BB to live in, the brokies decided they were going to have it out again. Because Andrew's such a top G, he gathered up Mark, and they both went out on the front lines to pepper up Trap.
Man, I said present. Blood, are you dumb? Are you getting rude to man? That's what you get, fam. Push you. Yeah, blood. Whose end are you coming to now, fam? Dickhead.
BB was then captured. And we had some more visitors. Most likely BB's family looking for her. So Mark and Andrew kept their mouth shut. BB was enslaved. And this is where Andrew asked if she would start doing research, but she refused. So she was back to being a prisoner. Andrew and Mark continued to mine and build the base, until another quest popped up where the Matrix have been harassing caravans in the area, and Andrew and Mark were asked if they could attract them and kill them. They both didn't really fancy it, so they just ignored it. Master Splinter's wife wanted revenge, and Andrew didn't realise how close Master Splinter's wife was, so he took a trip outside, but then instantly ran back in and threw hands with the rat. An electric stove was set up to be built, and seeing as we would now have BB joining us, Andrew planted some more vegetables. Another transport pod crash, and it was just another woman who wasn't very useful, so she was left to die. Some more people showed up to trade, and Andrew just sold them drugs that were in the stockpile, and then bought 1 extra herbal medicine. And then Mark thought it was a good idea to call Andrew's granddad and grandma saggy fuckers, which caused a fight between them both. Now the top G kept it fair and used fists, but the fight ended once Mark took a bite out of Andrew, and Andrew thought, fuck this, you're weird, and went to bed. There was another transport pod crash with an 11-year-old called Wobbin. Andrew's lifestyle doesn't have room for kids, so he was left out there to starve. A mad muffalo appeared while Andrew was out and about, which blocked him from getting home, so Andrew had no choice but to fight this mad muffalo. Lucky for him, he hit a cracking shot with the legendary great bow and fired an arrow right into the mad muffalo's brain. And for now, that's where we're at with the story of Andrew Tate in Rimworld. Keep an eye out for another video where we find out if he does become a top G and the richest man in Rimworld. Laters.